All right, let's dive right into this explainer and explore a fascinating, frankly mind-blowing chapter of ancient history that literally laid down the law for human civilization. We're going to travel back over 4,000 years to southern Mesopotamia to uncover the foundations of something we rely on every single day, the concept of standardized justice. Now, if you ask most people about the origins of written law, they might confidently give you an answer that is, well, completely wrong. It's a classic trivia question, right? And the knee-jerk response is almost always the exact same. People immediately think of a very famous Babylonian king and his towering black pillar of laws. But while Hammurabi gets all the fame for his eye for an eye code, the actual record holder is King Ur-Nammu. He ruled the Sumerian city of Ur centuries earlier, right around 2112 to 2094 BC. King Ur-Nammu actually founded the third dynasty of Ur, and his legal code is the true oldest known surviving example in the world. And honestly, it completely shifted how we understand the evolvement of human civilization. Section 1. The world's oldest law. Visualizing the complexity of Ur. So why was a legal code even necessary in the first place? To understand that, we really have to look at the staggering material wealth of Ur during the 3rd millennium BC. We're not talking about a simple farming village here. This was a bustling, highly developed urban center located strategically on the Euphrates River. Think about the intricate gold work of a divine bull amulet, or elaborate mosaic panels made with lapis lazuli. These details perfectly illustrate a highly complex, stratified society. I mean, that lapis lazuli had to be imported all the way from Afghanistan. When you have this level of long-distance international trade, you have immense wealth, and you naturally develop distinct social classes, ranging all the way from manual laborers to banqueting elites. And when you consider artifacts like a beautifully crafted gold dagger, complete with delicate gold nails, it really drives the point home. A society boasting this level of specialized craftsmanship, international trade networks, and just an immense concentration of wealth absolutely requires complex laws to function. Without a standardized system of rules governing trade, property, and personal conduct, a society this incredibly rich would simply descend into complete chaos. Section 2. Rise of King Ur-Nammu, from military conqueror to empire builder. This brings us to the guy who actually transformed that raw wealth and power into a highly organized society. Following centuries of political weakness, King Ur-Nammu stepped up to the plate. But he wasn't just a military conqueror who unified Sumer and Akkad. He was a strategic empire builder who fundamentally changed how a state operated. We know a lot about his priorities because ancient kings documented their reigns using what they called year names. Think of these as a fascinating form of royal propaganda, highlighting the absolute biggest achievement of any given year. And Ur-Nammu's surviving list, it reads like a masterclass in empire building. He boasts about destroying enemies, building massive city walls, and constructing grand temples to the moon god Nanna. But here is the absolute kicker. Out of all his military conquests and massive architectural triumphs, he specifically dedicated an entire year to celebrating the establishment of justice. The text literally reads, Ur-Nammu made justice in the land. He clearly recognized that raw military power just wasn't enough to sustain an empire. He needed a universal system of fairness to legitimize his rule and maintain order. Section 3. The Code of Ur-Nammu, the Intangible Monument. You know, while Ur-Nammu constructed massive physical monuments that still awe us today, like the Great Ziggurat of Ur, his most enduring legacy was entirely intangible. It wasn't made of mud brick or imported stone. It was made of ideas and agreements. He created the Code of Ur-Nammu. This is profoundly significant because it moved his society away from raw, arbitrary conquest by the strongest warlord, and it cemented his status as a ruler who provided fair, God-given order to his subjects. Mesopotamian rulers genuinely believed it was their divine duty to deliver justice, and Ur-Nammu was the very first we know of to formally codify it. When we look back at the surviving cuneiform tablets of the era, we see the dense administrative reality of the Ur-3 period. Everything, and I mean everything from complex royal rituals to daily trade to the hiring of laborers, had to be meticulously recorded. The Code of Ur-Nammu existed within this highly literate administrative machine. It ensured that the rules weren't just spoken into the wind, but recorded and standardized for absolutely everyone. Section 4. The Dublama Courthouse. Grounding the abstract law.
But hey, a law code is pretty much useless without a place to actually enforce it, right? Having the rules written down on a tablet is only step one. This leads us to the physical manifestation of justice in the ancient city, the exact place where the abstract concept of law met the messy reality of daily life. In the ultimate authority of the ruler was exercised at a location known as the Dublama. This effectively acted as an ancient high courthouse. Historical texts tell us that witnesses and court-martials would literally take their oaths at the Dublama. It was a recognized, formal space dedicated exclusively to the administration of fairness. We know exactly how crucial this place was to the social fabric because of how deeply it was mourned when things eventually went south. There's this tragic quote from the ancient lament over Sumer and that reveals what was lost when the city fell. Verdicts were not given at the Dublama, the throne was not set up at its place of judgment, justice was not administered. They weren't just mourning the loss of gold or city walls, they were mourning the devastating loss of the sacred physical space where fairness was guaranteed. So why did this physical space matter quite that much? Well, fragments of the Ur-Nammu stele show the king receiving a measuring rod and rope from the gods, which were the ultimate symbols of legal administration. This visually proves the ancient belief that justice must not be some secret ruling made in the shadows. It must not only be done, but it must be seen to be done in full view of the public, under the watchful eye of Utu, the sun god of justice. The Dublama provided that absolutely essential public stage.
Finally, Section 5, Legacy of Sumerian Justice, the Foundations of Fairness. King Ur-Nammu's shift from ruling merely by the sword to ruling by a written, publicly enforced legal code was a revolution. It was a real game changer that forever altered human history. By standardizing laws, recording them, and creating dedicated public spaces like the Dublama to enforce them equitably, he quite literally laid down the blueprint for every legal system that followed. As we wrap up this explainer, it leaves us with a pretty fascinating perspective. The next time you see a courthouse or hear about a witness taking an oath, think back to the ancient city of Ur. It really makes you wonder, when we step into a courtroom today, aren't we just participating in a 4,000-year-old tradition started by a Sumerian king who decided to make justice visible to everyone?